Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Make Me Whole podcast. We are here today joined by Brooke Kekos, who is a life coach and wellness expert, um, and has agreed to join us today and talk to us about all the things she knows. Thank you so much, Brooke, for joining us today and telling us about just all that you believe is important for us to know. And tell us, where are you from? What is your expertise in? And give us some insight into what you believe is important in the wellness world.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy. I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation. So, I actually live in Arizona, so I'm here in the desert. I am, we talked, you'll probably show in the show notes, but I'm a trauma recovery coach, an RTT therapist, and an NLP practitioner. And some of you might be like, what the heck is an RTT therapist? I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Um, but really, the work that I do is to help people really kind of get back in touch with their authentic self because they've experienced traumatic events in their life. And it's not just like you got in a car accident. Sure, that can cause PTSD and all of these other things, but this is like deeper, more complex trauma. Women that have maybe been in abusive relationships and have kind of recreated that pattern throughout their life and felt betrayal or unloved or unlovable, or had childhood trauma. And they really feel disconnected from themselves. So that's really the work that I do.
Okay. And so tell us a little bit about your practice. Are you simply one-on-one conversations? Is there a specific technique that you specialize in? Or is there something that you feel that people need to know more about what you do in particular?
Yeah, of course. So I do one-on-one work, of course, because when we're doing deeper trauma work, it's really helpful to have that kind of trust and safety. But I also do group programs. So I also work with women and this like community of women that are really on this healing journey and are really wanting to have overall mental wellness. Really be more in tune with their bodies, and really get connected with, okay, what's my purpose here in life? What do I want to embody and how do I want to feel in my life? And that's really where I kind of guide people. I mean, they all do the work. I'm just their guide, is what I say. And really, my modality is, of course, coaching, but it's also integrated with RTT therapy, which is a mixture of cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming. It really shows us how our brain interprets our behaviors and actions and really helps us to get more in tune with, okay, how can I anchor in the way I want to feel? And then also hypnosis. So it's all integrated in hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Everybody's probably like, ooh, that sounds scary. It's too woo woo. I promise you, it's not woo woo. We're in hypnotic states all the time. When we zone out, we're in a hypnotic trance, right? We're watching TV and we're like literally staring at the screen, but we're zoned out, right? Like we're not paying attention. We're like, oh, what the heck happened? We have to ask the person next to us, like, what just happened, right? Because we're in that state of mind, we're in that brainwave. And this is just a guiding force to be able to access that part of our mind, which is our subconscious, to understand, okay, well, why do I have this anxiety? What's the root cause? And how can I rewire my brain to believe differently and think differently and act differently? And that's really the deeper work.
And I think it's important. One of the reasons why I knew that having this conversation with you today was going to be so key because as a cognitive therapist myself, people feel sometimes like they've exhausted all of what traditional therapy can give them. I've done it all. I've spoke to therapists for years. Nothing is coming from that. And it really can be a block that
Yes.
they are experiencing. Can you tell me a little bit about what you truly believe is the kind of like the taboo of where hypnotherapy gets a bad rap and where it really can help people who might be experiencing those types of blocks?
Oh, I definitely can speak on that. First of all, that is my story. I got stuck in traditional therapy. I really was like, this is not helping me. I'm spending thousands of dollars. I feel like we're going in, we're talking about the same stuff every time we go in. I have the same problems. I'm being triggered by the same things. And that's when I found RTT. And hypnotherapy, yes, it has a bad rap. I mean, Hollywood, for one, has made it look like it's something crazy. Okay. And then it also has made it be like, oh, you can get on stage and you're going to quack like a chicken, or, this is the type of things that people kind of look at it and look at it as taboo. I also thought hypnotherapy was taboo because of the way I was raised and the religion I was raised in.
Hmm.
That was a big no-no. That was meaning, oh, you're letting someone else control your mind, all of these things. And so even when I found RTT, I was a little bit like, ooh, I don't think I should do that. Even after I left that belief system, I still was afraid of it. So I completely understand when people are like, I'm afraid of hypnotherapy. It's just because you've never experienced it. It's something new.
Right.
And our brain is like, when something's new, it's like, no, 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 don't do it. Makes up all the excuses not to do it. But actually, hypnotherapy is the one thing that I have found to be a huge tool of fast transformation.
Can you tell me how it helps people get to that level of empowerment, that level of clarity?
Yeah, of course. When we think about the brain, and this is a lot of the neuroscience behind the brain, I'm a huge brain nerd. So, but when we think about the brain, we have so much going on in our daily life, right? So
Yeah.
we wake up and we immediately get bombarded with our tasks of the day. And, our brain's already like, oh my gosh, it's already overwhelmed, right? And then
Right.
we add in the kids and then the work and the whatever else comes up in your life. And already your brain is already overwhelmed, right? And so that's when we start to have this brain fog. That's when we
Hmm.
start to have lack of clarity. And then we have really difficulty making decisions because we're so overwhelmed. And also then we're bombarded by social media and all these other things that are kind of coming at us. And so hypnosis is like the direct route to get into where, oh, this is where I want to get really clear. And all of a sudden you come out of this hypnosis state and you're like, oh my gosh, now I know. What it gives you is awareness. We can't
Hmm.
gain that awareness in our conscious state right now in this moment when you and I are talking. It's not doable. Hypnosis and meditation are the biggest keys to getting clarity and coming into this awareness. And anything else is, I mean, unless you decide to do something like psychedelics or something like that, you want to go to
Yeah.
the extreme, it's going to be harder to get to that route.
Yeah, it surprises me how, I mean, because there is a new trend where people are starting to even consider ketamine treatment
Mhm.
as part of their therapeutic journey. And that is going on the far end of treatment. And so I'm saying, okay, well, let's scale it back a little bit. How about we get some understanding about just being still or being mindful and going back to the ideas of meditation and hypnotism within, a guided realm, um, for people who don't know how it functions, and not to dumb down any type of therapeutic process, but could you give some idea as to what a session might look like?
Yeah, of course. So it really, my client comes to me, and I usually am pretty intuitive on what the client is needing, but we'll talk about what their triggers are. We'll talk about what they're suffering from, what they're struggling with currently in their life, and then we will choose what that struggle is and what they want to be free of to go into hypnotic state. And just so you guys know, for anybody that's afraid of this, I just want you to know that I'm not controlling your mind. I am like the guide. I'm like the person with the flashlight that's helping you kind of go through this subconscious part of your brain and understand yourself more deeply while you do the things that you do. And I think that's where the power lies, is being able to find the reason why. And a lot of the times, women will particularly come with me with the belief, this is a huge belief for most women, is I'm not enough. And that's a lot of the reason why women get stuck in abusive relationships. I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. And we go into the stories of what was created in your life. What were the experiences that you had that made you feel like you were not enough? Some women will go all the way back into when they were born, when they were babies,
Wow.
which is really powerful. I mean, I have had
Hmm.
women go into the womb before because
Oh my.
your brain is already working, it's already experiencing, and sometimes it can be like a somatic experience or remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt this way, or I knew my mom was struggling, or something like that. But being able to know that like you carry all of this within you,
Mm.
and really to be able to understand your morality. Oh, this is why I don't feel like I'm not enough, because you weren't born and thought I'm not enough. You had experiences and stories that created that belief. So this is going back into the belief and then being able to rewire the brain to say, well, oh, actually, that's not true. I am enough. And I deserve a better relationship. I deserve love, whatever the story is for them. So that's really the experience. It's going into that journey of, okay, what's the stories and experiences of life? And how can we move the trauma or move the sadness or that feeling that you weren't able to process and then be free of it?
What does the commitment need to be on the part of the client who is planning on processing in that way or intending to be part of that journey?
So I would say the commitment is that you are fed up. This is actually the women these are the women that I attract. It's the women that say, you know what, I have been stuck in traditional therapy and I'm not getting anywhere. And a lot of the times it's because we've had these negative thought loops that are
Yeah.
continuing to play out. So you're not creating new neural connections in your brain. You're playing out the old same story. And it gets stronger every time that you believe it. And I just want to tell you guys, those beliefs are a lie. Okay, those beliefs are a lie and you can change them. And that's where the commitment comes in. And you finally say, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling this way. I'm tired of feeling disconnected. I'm tired of feeling this anxiety. I'm tired of feeling like I'm struggling. And you just make the commitment to say, I'm ready to go all in and get more connected to me and understand myself more deeply. And really, the transformation is very quick. Women work with me for 6 weeks and they're like, I'm a different person than I was 6 weeks
Mm.
ago because they just commit and they go all in and it's a fast transformation.
On the flip side of it, as clinicians and providers and healers who might be those traditional therapists who find that they want to add something to their bag of tricks and they would like to learn how to um, be able to provide services such as those that you provide, what kind of training would they need to be involved with?
So they would have to go and get their clinical hypnotherapy certification. For me, I've done a lot of trauma certifications. So I've done a lot of studying the nervous system, trauma as a whole, and understanding how we really take a lot of those inner wounds on, and we're not really consciously aware of it. That it's underneath. We look at the
Right.
subconscious and we look like it's like this iceberg, right? Their subconscious is underneath the water, right, of this iceberg. And so
Mhm.
those things are kind of hidden. And this is bringing that stuff to the surface. So for people that are interested in doing something like that and doing the deeper work, so they can have more control over their life, I can't even say enough about going and learning this modality because I know what it's brought to my own life.
Yeah, and being trauma informed as a therapist, especially nowadays, is a really important tool to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you found that within the lab, I've been talking to not only on the podcast, but just to clients in general about the shared trauma that everyone has had over the past 4 years of just dealing with just our culture, our society, be it politically, be it the pandemic, be it whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if you have found that that has caused an increase in your need or the need for your services since that has happened.
For sure. I think a lot of people struggle with depression, anxiety. We see that all the time. I'm not against um, pharmaceuticals and things to help with depression and anxiety. I'm not against that, but I feel like that is a band-aid and it doesn't help the problem. For myself, I have suffered from depression and anxiety, and I know at times that the medicine that I was given helped me get through those very dark times, but at the same time, I knew it was a band aid. I knew I still needed to face my stuff. I couldn't just numb my body and say, well, none of this stuff happened. I had to actually go into the spaces of what I was experiencing and understand myself more deeply because I was sexually abused. And I had, I was in an abusive marriage for 17 years. So in domestic violence, right? So I knew my body kept the score. My body had all of this trauma and I had all of these beliefs. And I think it's really necessary to recognize, okay, if I've got this depression and anxiety, well, I can maybe put a Band-Aid on it for a while just so that I can not have the dark thoughts. At the same time, what do I got to do in order to heal more deeply? And I find that's really in the adolescent community. COVID was difficult for kids. I saw my teenagers struggle, right? Everybody struggled, but the kids, the youth really struggled because it was like a whole year of them not having social connection. And we are
Yeah.
humans. We have a need for social connection,
Yeah. Their
right?
parents did what they could.
Yeah.
We're not teenagers though. We're not as fun as the rest of
No,
their friends.
no, not at all. Exactly. And I think that just shows that, like, yeah, the past few years have been a struggle for many. And it's really kind of, it's showing up in the collective of people to like really be healed and recognize, okay, we can't keep existing the way that we're existing because it's not helping anybody. We're just carrying a bunch of this trauma to the next generation if we don't heal it now.
Oh, absolutely. And so I think that's part of the reason why your work is so important because I think a lot of people are also in that same mindset. Like, I don't want to just be on medication. I don't want to be in therapy for the rest of my life. What can I do to address the issues head on?
Yeah.
Um, how do you set up a safe environment for those skeptics who are ready to come in to do the work, are ready to address those issues, but maybe are still afraid of how that process looks?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work I do is via Zoom. So I do work globally. I do work here in Arizona. I have my own office space, but I find that people, I really make sure that they do feel safe. Being a victim myself and a survivor really helps me to be intuitive enough to create this safe space so people know that they're safely held by me, that they're in a safe space because I know what it's like to not feel safe.
Yeah,
So I make sure that each and every person that comes through my door or that I meet and I am going to do the work with knows that and trusts that, they're going to be safely held and really supported.
yeah. From your perspective, what does true empowerment look like once someone has been able to successfully complete services?
True empowerment is actually finding your voice and being unafraid to speak your truth and to embody who you really are. You're not hiding behind the masks anymore. You're not being who you think you should be or who someone told you to be. You've actually gotten rid of all that conditioning, right? Because a lot of the times we're wearing a mask because our parents told us who we had to be, or our partner said, you got to be this or else, right?
Right.
Whatever that is for you, it's about pulling all of that down, taking the armor off that you've carried around with you to stay safe and fully feeling freedom.
I can't imagine what that's like for you to be able to see that transformation in clients, just to see them come in one way and walk out the door another way. I mean, we get that opportunity as healers and as clinicians, but once they've gotten to a point where they feel that there is nothing left, where they feel that they have nothing else to lose. This is it. I don't know what else I can do, and here they are able to find themselves again. I can't imagine how wonderful that is for you to see as the provider.
It is. Honestly, it lights me up. It's my purpose. It drives me. I actually had a client this morning and it brought tears to my eyes. She texted me. She actually, after she did work with me, she sent me to her son because she said, I think my son would benefit from working with you. And I've been working with him and I've been helping him progress. But she told me, she goes, you saved my life. And I
Oh,
just wanted to thank you. And that was it for me. I was like, this is why I do what I do. this is why I have embodied my purpose and said this was what lights me up. I never want anybody to suffer the way that I suffered. And that's why I went the path and found the tools and the strategies to be able to relieve that for others.
Yeah. For people who, or any of the listeners who might be exploring this idea, a path to their empowerment, a path to letting go of past traumas, where they are needing just that extra kick to get to the next chapter in their life, what would be your message to them about, what their starting point should be?
Hmm. I would say first, it's the commitment. That's the starting point. I know for myself, like we're all there's a part of our being and a part of our brain that says we don't want to go and be uncomfortable,
Yeah,
right? Our brain is always trying to get us to be comfortable, and so a lot of times we'll avoid doing the deeper inner work. And I know for myself, I did as well, right? I would sabotage showing up for my therapy sessions, or I would cancel. Um, this is really the first starting point, is saying I'm committed to this. And if you can actually be committed to something, you're going to show up that way in your life and everything.
right.
And you're going to teach yourself that you can do hard things, and you're going to continue to grow and evolve rather than stay the same and not change.
What has ever been the most interesting um, discovery that you've found in working with any of your clients that you might have, not without disclosing, of course, anything personal, but maybe something that came up while they were working with you that just blew your mind?
Um, I would say, I mean, obviously I can't say too much, but I feel like a lot of, I'm surprised by how many people have been affected by religious abuse. I really thought that I was alone in that.
Mm,
Being raised in a religion that was controlling and really manipulative, really has all the models of, of, or the instances of what a cult is. Feeling that shame and that shunning and all of those things, really, I was surprised to see how many women have and carry that wound as well,
wow.
of that deep, deep shame, because they didn't perform or act the way that they should have. And that really seems to carry out through a lot of the women that I work with. And it's just surprising when we kind of dig up those things, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is why some women are like, I can't do that again. I can't do the shame, and that's what it's, a lot of fear.
And that you see it repeatedly is
Mhm.
just, it says that there are so many people that don't even realize that they're going through the same thing. That's
Yeah.
important to note, because I think so many people think that they're out there on their own, experiencing their own private hell. And there is, I would imagine that group modality that you have of women working together benefits in that way.
Yeah.
All
So they
right.
can be
Well,
seen and witnessed, witnessed in their
absolutely.
suffering. I think that's a lot of women that, come, especially people that come with like, I felt like I wanted to end my life. It's because they never felt like anybody cared. It was like they didn't matter. And so if they can be seen and witnessed in that suffering, all of a sudden they feel like they've been understood. And it shifts something in them, because they're like, oh, this woman deals and suffers from the same thing as I did. I'm not alone. And we immediately can kind of band together and feel that connection again.
And it's so important that we do that, because we have spent so much time separated from each other. It's just time for that to start changing, I think.
Completely.
Um, so where can people find you? How can people find you? What if they want your services? What needs to happen for them to get connected with you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, lifecoachinggoddess.com, and you can go and make an appointment for book a consultation with me. We can really just honestly chat about kind of what your struggle is, and we can really talk about what I perceive as like the best plan to go into this journey and really see what you're open to. And if you want to just dip your toes in, we can do that as well, right? So I just say, you know what, if you're feeling called to it, then just do it. And then I'm on all the social media channels, so you can always find me there as well.
And I'll put some links to your webpage and all in the description just in case people want to look for it there. But I think the conversation is so important. And I thank you so much for just being here and sharing your knowledge and your expertise because people need to know what options are out there and the other areas that they can explore in their healing journey. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Okay, guys, that's another episode for us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one.